Hi there, business owner. Are you looking to improve your business knowledge? Do you want to see behind the scenes of successful businesses? And more importantly, are you looking to build a better business in just 15 minutes each week? If so, you're in the right place. Welcome to the 3Bs podcast. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the 3Bs podcast. How are you all doing? If you don't know me, I'm Stephanie. Hi, I'm your host as always, and each week we have a 15-minute or less episode all about one particular area of business to help you to build a better business. So if you're a UK business owner, entrepreneur, CEO, you are in the right place. This week I wanted to discuss 5 of the things I would do differently if I was going to start a business tomorrow. Part of the reason I do these podcasts is so that I can help you to build a better business. And if I can help you to make less mistakes because I've already made them, then I'm going to share them with you. So I'm going to get straight into it. I'm going to cover 5 of the things I wish I'd done sooner or done from the beginning when I started my business. On with the episode. The first thing, or one of the first things I would have done differently if I was starting my company from scratch again, is to set up as a limited company straight from the beginning. Now, these are things that I would have done different, and your situation will be unique. And in certain situations, a limited company would not be a better option for you. So I have nothing against sole traders. I have nothing against partnerships or any other business entity type. But for me personally, I wish I set it up as a limited company sooner. Number one, it's more difficult to transition from sole trader to limited company once you've already been trading, particularly when it comes to assets and things the business owns. It can be a bit more complicated. If you already have things like insurances in place, they will all need to be changed. Bank accounts have to be changed. For us personally, with ABCS UK, my bookkeeping and accountancy practice, we had to get all new agent codes from the HMRC, and they can take months to come through. And in fact, we started as a limited company in November 2021. We're now in May 2024, and we are still transferring clients over from the old agent account to the new agent account because it has taken this long to get the correct features and functionalities in place so that we are able to do so. Also, the timing of agent authorization codes is very specific because we don't want it to cross over a payroll period so that we can't submit the payroll for them, for example. So I would have definitely set up as a limited company first thing. Since the 1st of May 2024, when Companies House increased their fees, the fees for incorporating a limited company, which means registering it or setting it up with Companies House, and the fees for your annual confirmation statement have also increased significantly. And that impacts the decision on whether a limited company is more beneficial for you than a sole trader. Seek advice from a professional, an accountant, or a financial advisor may also be able to advise you on that. What is best for your unique situation. The second thing I would have done differently had I started my business again tomorrow is to not charge an hourly rate. Now, this is something I am incredibly passionate about. I started off invoicing out at like £15 an hour, mainly because my own self-worth and my own confidence in my ability wasn't as good because I'd not gone out on my own before. I'd always worked in industry and employed roles rather than working with a range of clients. And that is an adjustment of learning to spread your time and manage your time more effectively. But I should not have charged an hourly rate from day one. There are very few businesses where charging an hourly rate for your services, if you're service-based, is beneficial. Many reasons to this. Number one, it feels more like a job. And if you're going to be a business owner and you want to build a better business, which I believe you do, otherwise you wouldn't be listening to this podcast, you are looking to build a business, and the business that you want to build to give you financial freedom needs to not be limited by an hourly rate. You just want to feel like a job. You need to feel like a CEO or a manager that oversees the business. Also, you're then going to hit an income ceiling. If you're charging an hourly rate, there will be an income ceiling. There's only 24 hours in a day, no matter how many times we try to stretch it, and you will need to sleep eventually. So when you're charging an hourly rate, there's only so many hours that you can physically work. There's only so much chargeable time you can physically invoice out for. And that means that eventually your business will get to a point where you can't invoice out anymore. You can't increase that income. If you want to build a business and keep increasing the income you receive and keep increasing the turnover and the profits of your business, charging an hourly rate is not going to get you there. And another reason that not charging an hourly rate is what every business owner needs to do is because you're being penalized for being good at your job. So if you're great at your job, if you're efficient, you get the tasks done in half the time, you're earning half the money. And people should be paying for the value you provide, the transformation you provide, the results you give to them as business owners. They should not be paying for the physical time you are spending, because as you get better at your job and more quicker and more efficient, you're going to be earning less money, which is completely counterintuitive to building a better business. Another thing, the third thing that I would definitely do differently if I started my business again tomorrow, is to put my own business first. Now that sounds really silly, but particularly in service-based businesses, you end up being the last business that you look after. You don't see yourself as your own client. You don't look after your own business. It's slightly different for us because we are in a financial services role with the practice. So looking after the accounts of our own company always fell to the wayside. My accounts were always behind. The self-assessment tax return, mine would always be the last one to be submitted because I would never put myself first and put my business first. And if you are a service-based business, then you definitely need to lead by example. You know, if I was searched on Companies House, if the company was looked at on Companies House, you would see that the accounts were always like submitted at the very last minute. You could always see the confirmation statement was submitted on the very last day. All that information, if you're a limited company, is available on Companies House, and prospective clients could potentially be put off by looking at that because I'm not practicing what I preach and I'm not leading by example, and that's not good enough in my opinion. So I would definitely start, and I do now obviously put my own business not first, but I set aside designated time to work on the practice itself, work on my businesses rather than in them. A great thing that sticks in my head when I think about this is that my dad was a mechanic, still is a mechanic. He's a master technician. He's been fixing cars for my entire life. It's all I can remember. And our family car was the biggest pile of junk you have ever met. It was scrap metal. I remember one year we had an N-Reg red Corsa that had faded to pink, Vauxhall Corsa, and he'd had to weld the hole in the floor together to get it through its MOT. Like, it was literally falling apart. And that is not a good example of your business. If the thing you do, you're falling behind in on your own, that does not set a good example. And that does not give off a good impression either. So put your own business first. Whatever service you work in, whatever product you provide, make sure your personal efforts are put into your own business, because that is going to then help with your clients and give your clients confidence in you as a business owner and in your business. The fourth thing that I would definitely do differently if I started my business again tomorrow or started a new business would be to set clearer boundaries with clients from the beginning. Again, it's a learning curve. We all go through this as business owners, but hopefully by me sharing my experiences with you in this episode, you won't make the same mistakes we did, or you will start to rectify any of the mistakes that you're currently making right now, which will make it easier for you further down the road. And setting clearer boundaries would be the first thing that I would stress that business owners do. I was that bookkeeper and accountant who you would WhatsApp on a Sunday evening at 8 p.m. and I would answer you within an hour. Despite the fact that I would be sacrificing time with my children, I would be sacrificing downtime outside of working hours. If you WhatsApp me or called me or emailed me, 9 times out of 10, I would want to do something about it. I would respond in some way or another, because it used to drive me crazy to have unread emails in my inbox. I am the type of person that doesn't like a notification on my phone. Those people who have like thousands of unread emails on their phone in a little notification icon make my skin crawl. Like, it's just not for me. It makes me feel really full of anxiety. I am not that kind of person. If you are that kind of person, drop me an email and let me know, because I'd love to understand how you can do it without stressing, and it's something I really work on. But I was that person, and it was driving me into the ground. And then when I had to stop that because it just wasn't sustainable as a business owner, it was affecting my relationships outside of work as well, was the clients couldn't understand why all of a sudden I wasn't available at 8 p.m. on a Sunday evening, wasn't available at 5 a.m. when they got up on a Tuesday morning to answer their query for them. They'd have to wait. If they'd emailed me at 8 p.m. on a Sunday evening, they'd have to wait until Monday afternoon for an email reply, unless it was urgent. Like, they didn't like it, and then that left them feel disgruntled, and then they would feel like they're getting poorer service. And I completely understand their viewpoint in that. However, I should have done it from the beginning. And now clients come on board, they know what to expect from me straight away. They know the working hours of the practice. They know, for example, in August, we have no client-facing meetings. I have 2 children, and I believe very strongly in flexibility. That was one of the main reasons I started the business, was to give flexibility so that I could still work in the summer holidays, but I could still take time out to be with the children, and I would work in the evenings and then send my emails to go out during the day, their working hours, so that I could also enjoy both sides of it. So, set clear boundaries is really important. And if you're not currently setting boundaries, now is the time to draw a line in the sand and start setting them. And finally, the 5th thing that I would do differently if I started again tomorrow, and it sounds really silly, but I would pay myself properly from the beginning. Because as you grow and expand, your finances and costings, when you're trying to work out when to take on that next staff member, when to grow your team, is based on paying them a good salary. If you're just taking what you need to live on and you're not paying yourself what you would pay a staff member to do the job role you are doing, when you start growing the business and taking on more of a CEO, a director role, working on the business rather than in it operationally, that is the amount of money you're going to need to be paying that person. So you're going to get double the shock, because you have to still pay yourself to survive, and then you're going to have to pay them a much higher rate than you were currently paying yourself. And it can cause all sorts of cash flow problems. It can ultimately destroy businesses because they can't physically afford the subscription they've bought for that latest software, that piece of machinery they've bought to improve their efficiency and productivity in the business. So pay yourself properly from the beginning. It actually does you and your business a favor as you grow and build. And that brings me to the end of another episode of the 3Bs podcast. I hope you found that useful. I hope at least one of those 5 mistakes that I have made means that you don't need to, or if you're already making them, it gives you the confidence to actually turn it around to help you to build a better business. I'd love to know if there's anything that you would do differently if you started again tomorrow. Drop me an email, hello@the3bs.com, or come and find us on Twitter or X or Instagram. Drop us a DM and let us know what you would do differently, because it's all about sharing these experiences and helping us all to build a better business. And I'm not above learning myself. Thank you for joining me. I will see you next week for the next episode. And that brings us to the end of another episode of the 3Bs podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Please connect with us on social media. Like, rate and review wherever you are listening to this podcast so that I can help more business owners build a better business. See you next week.